Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is John Levingood.
Oh, it's okay. Here I am.
Now, normally I would come up with something interesting like how you were a famous busker in the 1970s, or how you rode Niagara Falls down a barrel, or how when you go to restaurants, you're unimpressed by how they call burgers ultimate burgers. But I have something very important to tell you. So I had to get to the business.
Okay.
Ernie Reyes Jr. had a small role in the latest episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that shit DVR'd. I just watch that when I'm sick or can't sleep. I got to get to that.
So I was watching it. I didn't even notice him in there because it's a bit role. But at the end, the credits came on. I don't even know why I was paying attention, but I saw Ernie Reyes Jr. I went, Ernie Reyes Jr. Like, there's no reason for me to be as excited about seeing Ernie Reyes Jr. in the credits. But I went
when he was on, you just didn't realize it was him?
It's a bit. It's a bit part. And it doesn't, like, he's not like spin kicking. He's just a little bank guy.
Aw, I'm disappointed by that.
But I was like, Kung Su, dude. Surf ninjas.
Like, they had to have him in there because Andy Samberg liked him in one of his martial arts movies, and this has got to be leading to a subsequent episode that hasn't aired yet where he's going to do spin kicks.
I mean, I really hope so, but I saw it and I just got so happy. I started thinking about the Rundown and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Surf Ninjas.
Like, you do not give him a bit part without spin kicks unless it's leading to an episode where he does spin kicks.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on a TV show and he doesn't spin kick, I'm disappointed.
Like, look, Van Damme had a great 80s, 90s, and 80s man butt, right? The women out there, you could get a woman to watch Bloodsport with you or Kickboxer with you because you knew you'd see his, like, recently shorn or waxed butt, and it would be shiny like they waxed it.
And one of my biggest posts ever were about JCVD. If he does 3+ splits in one of his movies, they have a higher critical rating. So critics, action fans, women, everybody, they loved his splits.
But so despite that, right? Despite looking at his butt and his legs while he's doing the splits for whoever fancies his parts, like, you would not cast him in a hot and heavy, like, romance or drama without a spin kick.
Kramer versus Kramer. He would not be divorcing Meryl Streep. He
is not doing 9.5 weeks unless he's spin kicking sand into someone's face in the desert.
Wait, what if he was in Rain Man?
Did I say 9.5 weeks? I meant the English patient.
Yeah. Wait, what about, I was like, wait, what, 9.5 weeks? Jeez Louise.
That's the kitchen fight. That's for the kitchen fight because they have the kitchen sex scene with Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger.
Jeez Louise. And so now we're thinking about Sudden Death where he fights a mascot.
Right, the penguin woman.
I want to see him as Tom Cruise's role in Rain Man, dealing with Dustin Hoffman.
Like, but no spin kicks.
No, just JCVD going, ah.
And his name will be like Max Smith, but he's going to talk like this.
Chance boo throw. My mama took a chance.
My mama took a chance on me.
And he and Rain Man are riding dirt bikes because they robbed Vegas, and they're on Rain Man and him are both standing on dirt bikes. Because Rain Man's also
it's like a hard target. A hard target.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's basically Rain Man meets hard target.
Okay, so there will be spin kicks.
I mean, there's a lot of money that changes hands.
That could be the name of the movie. You make him an oil tycoon, and it's called There Will Be Spin Kicks.
So basically, he's a loner, right? And then he hits oil, then he gets millions, so he has to have people in his life, then he eventually just spin kicks each person out of his life.
If you do the splits with my big legs because of karate, then you need the protein shake. And you have your protein shake way over there. And I have my long straw.
And I drink your protein shake. I drink it all up.
I'm going to drink your protein shake from over here, but like you're over there, so you think that your protein shake is safe, but it is not.
I have to tell you something. I've known you for years, John, and we've been podcasting for years, and that's the best riff you've ever done that I've ever heard in my life.
What, the Van Damme?
JCVD drinking someone else's protein shake while he stars in There Will Be Spin Kicks.
There will be spin kicks.
My mama took a chance on me. My JCVD accent is not good, but it's better than my Michael Caine accent.
Oh.
Now, I got a Michael Caine bit for you later once we get into the topic, but I'll save that for later. She was only 16.
Good Lord. If no one has listened to an episode of ours before, I apologize in advance for
It's
this.
supposed to blow the bloody nose off. And the thing is, I'm trying. I'm trying to do. Wait, that's right. That's Forrest Gump.
That was like an Australian Forrest Gump.
Ahoy, mates. I'm Tom Hanks.
I don't know what
That
is.
sounded like Tom Hanks doing an Australian accent.
If he was bad at it.
That's the whole point. He's an actor.
Okay.
That's a bad Tom Hanks in a Tropic Thunder 2 trying to pull off a Australian accent.
Great actor playing a bad actor who can't do an Australian accent well.
And that's what I sound like.
Okay, all right. Well, you nailed it.
Yeah. So, before I destroy everyone's eardrums with more terrible accents, I think it's time for some listener questions.
All of our listener questions are actually about our movie today, so I guess we have to introduce the movie.
Do you want to, or do... you know what? I'm going to introduce it, John, because...
You need to give it a shot? All right.
I'm doing it.
It's oddly tough, by the way, listeners, to introduce a film. Like, the synopsis on IMDb usually doesn't do proper justice to the film.
And there's one thing I've learned about myself, and I'm terrible explaining things.
So is IMDb.
I'm good at putting things in dude speak. Like, when I was a lit major, I'd be explaining a book by Umberto Eco, and I'm like, yo, so this dude's like, hey, what's the meaning of life? And this guy's like, well, it's not that difficult. And then he go to space, and they meet some gods, and then they're getting this philosophical discussions, and then they're like, yeah, this is cool. Like, that's how I break things down.
But, I mean, like, IMDb was like, it was basically a group of friends.
I got, let me
Do this. You take it.
4 friends take a hiking trip through Sweden to honor their fallen friend. However, something happens and they're forced to take a shortcut through the woods. And in those woods, they come across something that's evil. Thousands of years of evil. Will they make it out alive? Will they stay friends? Will they turn on each other? Will the lead character punch an old woman in the face? The Ritual.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
I mean, there's some face punching in this movie.
You know, actually, if you just read the premise of this and then you heard you give that,
was it good?
I believe Nick Cage could be in this.
Was it good?
It was. You gave a good synopsis for a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes, wait, no, who's that?
But like, I mean, there's no way to give this film a synopsis that is fair and unspoiling that would get people to want to see it because it's very simple. And all the compelling things about it are spoilers.
And then they're going to be like, oh, you mean like Blair Witch Project, just getting lost in the 4 dudes taking a shortcut and getting lost in the woods. That's lame.
So they're going to get mad at each other.
And I don't mean to do that because that does come to people. And that's what I initially thought. But the more I watched it, the more I actually appreciated what it was.
Yeah, So when we saw the trailer, right? When we saw the trailer for this before it was released, like, all I could think about it was like, okay, people go camping and they encounter something, and the trailer doesn't give you any hint of what that is. We're assuming it's something more than a person, but we don't necessarily know it's not a person or a cult or a bunch of things or one thing, or is it paranoia, or is it a spirit, or is it a creature? Like, we don't, or are they nuts? Like, the way that the trailer is delivered, we just know that something... They feel they were being stalked by something. And that's like it.
I never watched the trailer.
Never watched the trailer. I mean, but even watching it now, like, it's like I only know because I know what happens in the movie because I watched it 3 times. Yeah. Like, but I really appreciate that this trailer did not double as a spoiler, which is what most trailers are anymore.
You know what I appreciate about this movie, and it goes to say what you just said about the trailer, how it didn't give anything away. So I've been reading a lot of interviews about this movie, and director David Bruckner, who also did some clips from Southbound, and my favorite VHS clip about the vampire they take into the hotel room, and she's crazy. But what I like about him is he's like, I know. Here, I'm gonna read a quote if you don't mind, John. What do you say?
Allow it.
Well, basically, he's saying we knew in a movie those different subgenres would stand out a bit more, and some of our choices, not all, but some were a little bit more conventional than the book. He's like, yes, this is a horror film, and yes, there are well-traveled tropes. We're not going to stand above them, but we know what we're wielding. And beyond that, PG-13, this gets our rating, fuck it. I want to believe this is happening. It's just more fun for me that way. So the trailer didn't give anything away, and the director knew he was dealing with well-traveled tropes, and instead they just wielded those tropes well.
I was really pleased with everything that happened in this movie. I felt like any tropes that we encounter were not so tropic. They felt appropriate.
Yeah. I don't want to, some of our listener questions focus around this, so I don't want to be, and everyone, I can see how people do that, but I feel like it's almost too simple to say that this follows the tropes, even though they do. Because if you look at most movies, they basically follow tropes. You could say that about almost every film.
Oh, sure. The real question is just how justified are the tropes? Are we seeing the scenes that are indicative of why the stereotype exists? Or are we seeing stereotyping take place, which doesn't really fit the premise?
There we go.
So this film, we have this group of friends, and they all start out at a bar, right? And they're just chatting about some fun trip that they all want to do. They all want to have a bro trip. And they clearly go back to their college years, and they are just talking about different things they want to do. Are they going to do Vegas? Are they going to do some hiking trip, this, that, or the other?
Ibiza.
Go to bloody Ibiza.
In Amsterdam.
And so that night, as they're just leaving the bar, things get a little intense when one of them, played by Rafe Spall, I don't remember the characters' names, by the way, I'm terrible with that.
So Rafe Spall is Luke.
So Luke is that guy, that friend, who wants another drink. He wants to do another round. He wants to stop at a bottle shop and get something. And that goes very wrong. Yeah?
Yeah. And from what we gather, he's the only single guy of the bunch as well.
Right, yeah. So I guess he's the adult man-child ne'er-do-well, something like that at this point.
Yeah.
And there's just this interesting scenario where they walk in and they realize that the place is in the middle being robbed by some tweaky, maybe addicts or something. And Luke hides, and his buddy is just left there when when these addicts come out, and they're basically robbing the store, and they turn to rob him, and it goes horribly wrong, and Robert ends up getting brutally mauled and
brained,
yeah, just like a kafunk. And the whole time Luke was considering whether or not he should intervene. And of course this becomes a big point of conflict for us.
Yeah, and then it builds throughout the movie as well.
So that's kind of our opening scene. And then we flash, after he sees his friend die, to one of all their musings of what their trip would be, to the beginning of the camping trip that their now departed friend wanted to do.
Yeah, they're on the King's Trail, which is a beautiful trail from Sweden to Norway. And something that's interesting about this King's Trail is Robert, the guy who died, wanted to do it. So their four friends are honoring him. And a pretty interesting comment that Robert said was, Robert's like, oh, it's like the Appalachian, oh no, so this guy Hutch, and one of the other guys, Hutch, is like, oh, so it's like the Appalachian Trail. And Robert goes, yeah, with less hillbillies. And that's kind of funny considering what happens to them on this trip. So
this rolls us into our actual listener questions, because again, this time we had all of our listener questions were specifically about this movie. That was interesting. So first listener question is from Alice Field from Twitter. That's at ALLESKLAR71. I guess she was born in 1971. Alice asks, I'm wondering what they made of it in Sweden.
They loved it. They're big fans of like death metal over there, and metal. Like the book originally was about death metal and black metal. So when they made this, I mean, that's what the lore is. That's what it was. So I have to believe they were fans of this because the book was popular in Sweden.
Do you think that like their Ministry of Tourism has a trailer for this up because it just shows the beautiful forests and them hiking?
Four friends go on a beautiful hiking trip. They look at trees.
Like what they're in northern Sweden. They're approaching Norway, right? The Norwegian border. I don't even know what adjective to use here. They're approaching that area, right? Yeah. And it's it's, it's kind of overcasty. I guess that's befitting of the film, but it's like, it's pretty cool. They're camping out in the middle of this big clearing. Like, I don't think this is bad for the Swedes yet in this film.
Yeah, and then I guess though when we show movies like like when America Has Hills Have Eyes, we have Last House on the Left, Blair Witch Project. You have South American movies like Wreck. In Japan, you have The Host. In Russia, you have Chernobyl Diaries. In Australia, you have Wolf Creek. So I don't think a lot of these countries are too worried about it because I feel like people can separate fact from fiction. And if anything, this will keep people on trails, which is good for Swedish tourism.
You know what? It's good for any hikers. I think that, whenever you like walk into a national forest on a major trail, or if you're doing the Appalachian Trail, I'm sure you're going to see signs that warn you from like the damn ranger station not to wander too far off the trail.
I'm going to tell you a story. I was hiking one time. It was me and my shithead buddy Doug. Sorry for the swear word. And we were, both of us were. And we're like, oh man, we're tired of this. Let's take a shortcut. Because we're like, well, it has to lead immediately down to where everyone, because it was a switchback trail. So we took a shortcut and we got miserably lost. Like we're really lost. Ended up in this backyard full of dogs. And it was really, everyone had to wait for us. They were all pissed. So it's really easy to get lost. So I wasn't too down on these guys for what happened to them. Because I've done it.
Oh, sure. And walking in a straight line over variable terrain, like, good luck if you don't have a lot of experience out in the wilderness.
I do have to say, though, when they initially cut to the King's Trail, and you have the four guys, you have Phil, Hutch, Luke, and Dom. They're walking on this trail, right? And there's just beautiful foliage and mountains and vistas all around them. And Don's like, this is crap. This is stupid. I should be in Vegas. And I'm sitting there, and even though I like these characters, I didn't like that. But I guess that's what people would do, though. People, if they're not in shape and they're trekking through the Swedish wilderness, they're not going to be too happy.
Yeah, I guess, maybe he wanted the distraction too. Like, some people are looking at this as a nice thing to do because it's what their departed friend wanted to do. And then others are like, I need a distraction from the loss of my friend. I need, something that keeps me from these silent periods of reflection, you know?
Don't take me to a place where he wanted to go.
Right, and that's quiet. And we're going to walk quietly for hours at a time sometimes. And I can just think and reflect about my poor friend who got bludgeoned to death in a bottle shop. But I mean, that's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing.
I mean, he should have given up his wedding ring. He gave up his wallet and his watch.
He should have. Can I see myself in that situation? Sort of yes, sort of no. It's just a thing. But I think part of it was almost like him thinking that he could perhaps reason with the people, or that the people he was dealing with were reasonable when they were more tweaked out.
Yeah, they were on that crap that you take when you're on that movie Dread.
Dude, they were bath salting, man.
Oh.
So, the second question comes from a friend of the podcast, Beyond the Void. That's at BTVcast.
Yay!
And Beyond the Void asks, do you think it was really his fault, that's Luke's fault, for not helping his friend at the beginning? What would you do in that situation? And they're referring to when Luke is hiding and Robert basically leads to getting bludgeoned to death.
It's not his fault, and I don't know what I would do.
That's fair. I totally agree with both parts. It's not his fault. And if I wasn't there, I have no idea what it would feel like.
It would have been fine had he just given his ring away. They left the other girl alive. So it's not his fault that his buddy was doing that. I mean, and obviously there's going to be guilt. Like, hey, I'm the one that wanted the bottle. He came in with me because I was kind of being a little punk about it. So there's going to be guilt, but it's not your fault. Like, obviously, you're going to feel guilt. For the characters like Dom in this movie, he's like, there's no blood on you. Like, those two kids would have wiped the floor with Rafe. Those two jacked up kids would have wiped not jacked up muscly, but they're on drugs. They would have destroyed Rafe's ball.
Probably, yeah, especially since he was so nervous. He was intoxicated. Whether, that might rile some people up, but it might make some people nervous. It might, maybe that's part of his freezing up. Who knows? Maybe he just wasn't thinking straight. Maybe, we don't know what happened in his life. Yeah. Did he come from a household with a battered parent? Was he battered? Was he bullied? Was he the bully? Was he just a normal, quiet, sheltered kid? Was he a regular kid? Did he play sports? Did he not play sports because he was the kid with asthma? Like, we don't know what his story is. He could be anywhere on the spectrum of people who naturally freeze at conflict versus people who naturally would jump into action, maybe even foolhardy.
Yeah, so that was probably one of my biggest. So in the book, they were just 4 friends, and one of them was less successful than the other 4, and it led to a whole bunch of negativity, which you can further explore in books. But they added this death to kind of add more drama and guilt and depression for him. And as much as I love the movie, every time people were like, "You should have done something," it kind of took me out a little bit. Even though I do think people would say it, but I was kind of like, "Guys, nah." I don't know. That was like maybe the one part of the movie that felt a little forced to manicure some guilt in our main hero, the main character, let's say.
Yeah, I agree with the staging. Execution, though, I was very pleased with. The way that it all befell before our eyes. I like the way that scene played out.
Oh, and the guilt, and then later on when that's used against him, and I mean, it's done well, but it's the one thing that I felt was a little disingenuous.
Yeah, and agreed across the board. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to look at. And
you know what, John? You're a wimp. I just want to see what your answer would be. I would jump in that fight, knock those 2 jacked up people out, take the pipe from them. I'd rob them. So now I know how you'd help me now, Levingood.
I wouldn't do that.
What's that movie where that guy runs at someone from like 30 yards away and just gets knocked out? Like, you think it's going to be his hero moment, and the dude just jacks him in the chin and just lays him out.
I don't know, but I like this scene.
Yeah, that would be me. Ah! O'Doyle rules!
Dude, if you dipped an axe into a poison fish, that's what I'd do.
Yeah. What if he just started throwing bottles at the guys?
Right? Well, I don't know how. Maybe his aim just sucks.
Maybe he threw them at their feet, so when they tried to run at him, they slipped and cut themselves.
What if it was like Pulp Fiction, where he throws 6 bottles and they just like stand there and like look to their side as they all just miss?
and then they just throw 1 bottle, or no, yeah, they just pull their guns out.
Right,
and destroy
they throw one object, it hits him in the head, splits open his forehead, and knocks him unconscious.
It's like Idle Hands. The bottle gets stuck in his head.
That was so poor Seth Green.
Yeah.
That was such a weird way to die.
Like, that's, yeah. So, no, I wouldn't know what to do. So, I mean, you can't blame the guy.
So, third question comes from Gareth G. Morgan, who's at Slasher Trash on Twitter. He asks, and this is an interesting question to me, because of some comments I saw on Facebook, but do you think Rafe Spall was well cast?
Absolutely. I
love the guy.
Yeah, and Hot Fuzz is one of my favorite movies, and he and Patty Considine have some of my favorite, I think some of the funniest scenes of the 21st century together, but I liked him here as, he purposely isn't trying to be this leading action hero, and in the end he's running around in his jammies, fighting an Utan, and as the movie progresses, you can see he's trying to overcompensate in certain areas, but you also see that as everyone else kind of starts to falter or back down, he kind of finds inner strength in himself, and he does that subtly, not like, oh, hey, I just found inner strength in myself. He does a lot. I know you're acting, but he does a lot of it's on his face, and a lot of it's in his body language, and I like the character, and I think he did a good job. And while I was watching, I was like, he's turning out to be a pretty good lead man, a pretty good lead character. And he's come a long way since Prometheus. And also the guy Dom, who was Sam Troughton, he got killed in AVP. So both Dom and Luke have been killed by aliens and predators. But no, Ray Spall was good, man, and I think he nailed it.
Someone on Facebook had commented that they haven't liked Rafe Spall since Shaun of the Dead, and I thought that was like so weird. I liked him in Shaun of the Dead, and I liked him in Anonymous, and I've liked him in pretty much everything except for Prometheus that comes to mind. Wasn't he also in the Rachel McAdams movie About Time?
Oh, that's Domhnall. Isn't that Domhnall Gleeson?
But isn't he the other one?
Oh, the buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, probably. He's in a movie, though, that I don't like called I'll Give It a Year with Rose Byrne, and it's just two shitty people who get married, and everyone's like, we give it a year, and then they get divorced in a year. And it's just like,
That doesn't sound pleasant at
it's
all.
the
I don't want
most,
to watch that.
it's the most cynical, pessimistic little piece of poop I've ever watched, and, but, it wasn't Rose Byrne in his fault, so I'm not gonna blame them for that. And he's in all three, he's in the Cornetto trilogy, so you gotta give him that. But no, I thought he was well cast. I don't think you needed an action hero. You didn't need Cherry Butler running around the woods. You didn't, but then you also didn't need Hugh Grant running around the woods. You needed a rakish type guy who's been in enough movies who can kind of carry the dialogue. And when you watch this movie, I think the four of them are all very well cast, and they all have really interesting roles to play. And interesting, the guy Hutch, the kind of the hiker, the backpacker, his name's Robert James Collier, and he was in Downton Abbey for years. And I'm a huge, unironic Downton Abbey fan. He was like a big wimp in the show, so seeing him here as like a badass mountain guy, my mind blew up watching this movie.
Yeah, I agree with your observations too about Rafe Spall's like unassuming like need to be leadership role. Like when he took charge, as we'll discuss later in the movie, but when he did, when shit gets bad, like it's almost like a lip quivering, scared person who's just like, to survive, I think we need to do this. Like, I think we need to run. So, we're going to run on 3. Like, and he's nervous. He's like really nervous. He's looking at you with the same scared look that you're looking back at him with when you're like, no, I don't think we should run. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure we should run. I think it's going to come back and we're going to die. But, like it's not like he just, put on his hero shoes like for a second. Yeah, he's running through the forest. He's running with that weird kind of bent over.
Yeah.
Like when you're bent over with a newspaper over your head to protect yourself from the rain when there is no rain. He's got that bent over panicked run and his bare feet in the woods.
And he's carrying an axe.
And not a masculine running gait with that axe either. It's just it's a very panicked, hunched over run with an axe.
And I think that's what this movie needed, and I think that's what they got. And
yeah.
I think this movie also was helped by having his name in here, because you have Rafe Spall in a movie, that's a relatively big name, and you're not going to get a bad performance from him. Actually, a lot of these guys in this show, Arshar Ali was in a show called The Missing, which was very good. So these actors, the 4 lead actors in this movie, are very experienced guys, and it shows. And I was really surprised by that, John. I was watching it, and the whole time watching, I'm like, I like these guys. I'm like, who are these guys? Like, this is good. Like, that's why it blew my mind when I saw Downton Abbey, and also the cinematography is really good. I mean, this whole movie's good. It's good. It's a good movie, John. Let's end the podcast there.
So we got through that, right? We see our opening bits. We've got these characters. They're on this camping trip, that their dead friend wanted to go on. And at some point, why can't I remember his name? Glasses fellow.
Dom hurts his ankle.
Okay, twists his ankle, or his knee even, or something.
Because he's walking around like an idiot complaining.
And they're just walking out in the open, by the way. They are walking out in the open, and they're talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna make it in a day and a quarter. And then like right then, oh, my leg.
He didn't do it on purpose, but he didn't do anything to prevent it either.
That seemed... If there was one silly cliche moment in the film, it might have been that for me. Just that moment, but it was necessary to move it along. And then, like, they're trying to troubleshoot it. They're like, what are we going to do? It's like, well, we can't just hike now. It's going to take longer to hike to somewhere we can camp. We're going to have to hike longer the next day. He's got his bummed up leg. Like, we've got to take a shortcut.
Yep, southwest.
Take the south. So they're going to basically cut perpendicular to their current path and do a straight line on the map, which goes like through this like ravine-like chasm of dense woods. And it looks innocent enough on a map, I suppose. And they make their way in, and what is it? They make camp, and strange things start to happen.
Well, they don't make their camp. They don't make their camp the first night. Don't they stop in the cabin the first night?
Oh, right, yeah, because it starts raining torrentially on them.
So it starts pouring, and it sucks when you're hiking and it's pouring. So they come across this cabin that no one should ever go in, but they go into it. And do you think anybody had been there in years?
So my guess is probably not. But when they were on their way to that cabin, before it started torrentially raining, they were kind of getting lost. And they had they stumbled across what was like some cloth on the ground, and they pulled up this long covered with pine needles tent.
Oh, that's the next day.
That was the next day?
Yeah.
I'm totally getting Blair Witch delirium.
The first day they're hiking and they're like, oh, I love this food. I want some sushi with some not white wine, some red wine. And then this one guy's like, I'd love some McDonald's. You know how Robert loves some Donners? They call it Donners, I guess. He's like, yeah, it's Saturday night. He'd be drunk. He'd have grease all over himself. And then they stopped in that cabin.
That's my bad. Okay, so they make it to the cabin.
Yeah. And what's upstairs, John? It's just, there's electricity. There's Bud Light Lime in the fridge.
Bud Light Lime? I'd be out of that cabin. I would be out of that cursed cabin with Bud Light Lime. That's right up there when they have that raspberry limearita. I don't trust that stuff.
All right, there's some nice vermouth. There's some bottles of Buffalo Trace. There's some Luxardo cherries.
Okay.
And there's some rocks glasses. Those Spear ice cubes are waiting for them, and they look like
someone's coming home.
And they look like you broke into somebody's house. There's Death Star cubes. I mean, these guys have a great night.
Yes, they wander into this cabin, and it doesn't necessarily look like someone lives in it when they're on the outside. When they get inside of it, it's pretty clear. And again, it was pouring rain. I got my days mixed up. It was pouring rain. They charge into this cabin for shelter, and yes, naturally the notion is like, oh, does someone live here? It doesn't look like someone lives here. Well, whatever, just in case, we should really take a look around. It's got 2 stories. One of them goes upstairs. And upstairs, there in this, like, bedroom is this distorted, like, Wicker Man in a position like someone who is on his knees with the LAPD with guns at him with his hands up in the air, except his hands are severed. And where there would be hands, it's like it's holding deer antlers, and this figure is beheaded. Like, it was such a weird combination of things.
Yeah, and it had, like, wood feet that were going into the grounds. And wasn't there something next to it in a little rocking chair?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's some creepy stuff up in there.
So there's this thing, right? And okay, there's a thing, check, this place is weird, but it's pouring rain, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't really look like anyone lives here, so I guess we're gonna crash.
Yeah, and they do crash and wake up in interesting ways.
Yeah, they wake up after some, like, peyote fever dream shit.
Can I kind of talk about how all 4 of them wake up differently?
Steal it.
Alright, so we have Luke, who's Rafe's ball. He goes outside, he gets the mark of a beast on his chest. Then you have Phil, who's Archer Ali, and he's upstairs naked praying to it. Then you have Hutch, who's on the ground, he just kind of peed himself. And then you have Dom screaming. And what I like is all 4 reacted differently to it. And it's pretty interesting how all 4, it's almost like they almost explain their personalities. Those 4 things.
And the it that you're referring to is what may or may not have been delusions, enchantment, or horrible nightmares, because one of them was awake the whole time.
Yeah, and so I like that. So in this movie, we haven't talked about Phil much. He's a very passive guy. He's the most successful of the lot, from what we gather, and he's just pretty chill. He's just kind of go with the flow type guy. He's upstairs praying to the thing, which kind of sets him up as a pushover, because in this movie, he is naked. A pushover. Yeah. In this movie, yeah, he is naked. But do you think he's kind of a pushover? Like, because he never really has a say in this movie.
So he got visions, presumably, of something. And perhaps his reaction, rather than outright paralyzed fear, like we saw in one of them, he was the desperate one who was looking for forgiveness or mercy.
Yeah.
In his prayer, naked, up there, and it is revealed. He's the one who reveals that, no, I wasn't dreaming, I was awake. Like, he knew, and that's sort of a fever dream thing that can kind of happen to people, but like, he feels that he was awake when he was doing that the whole time, and that delirium, and that just frazzled, shaky state. That was pretty neat.
He was the Haley Steinfeld from Pitch Perfect 3 of the group, because everything he said was basically true, and no one listened to him.
Ooh.
That's a reference right there.
Yeah.
But no, he's so it's like they're like, oh yeah, it was a dream, or it was a bear, or it was a tree, and the whole time Phil's like, guys, this is not a bear or a tree. This is something after us.
Right, and Luke is talking about the blood and how he has this mark on his chest that looks almost like I don't know, a couple of puncture wounds or a couple of festering wounds, but like it doesn't go through his shirt. It's under his shirt. And when he shows him, like someone, his buddy actually says, "You probably did that yourself."
Yeah, it's like what?
Which doesn't make any, like, he doesn't have talons. I don't know how he'd do that himself, but I guess that's an interesting kind of desperate scenario accusation. But now that, you know, we just went 0 to 60, and now we're in desperate accusation mode.
And then Hutch is the tough guy, but he peed himself.
Right, yeah.
And then, as it turns out, in the film, Dom is kind of the coward who runs and hides, even though he says that Luke shouldn't have done that. So he's the guy that's screaming all over the place, while the tough guy is the one that's doing that. So it's an interest, like, it matches all the characters.
Yeah, and not that I'm saying that these movies are related or that one person was going off of the other movie. This is kind of like the Blair Witch moment when they realize they realize they lost the map. They realize they don't know where they are when they're by the stream. It's like, this is your freak out moment that kind of, that just hit you like a freight train.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is the day before, Hutch is like, as long as we keep going southwest and don't do anything stupid, we'll be fine. And when they wake up the next morning in a panic, Dom says, we're going on this trail. So they find this trail that's not southwest, and he just goes on it. So it's funny how he's
because trails lead to civilization,
yeah.
And civilizations mean people.
And it's funny, though, that Hutch is like, as long as we say southwest and don't do anything stupid, we'll be fine. And then Dom's like, we're taking this trail! And then they go off course. They don't even know where that trail goes.
Well, and that's the other thing. You're in a cabin in the middle of nowhere that doesn't seem to have, it's not like there are other cabins there. I don't necessarily think it's logical to say that this path leads to civilization. This path may lead to something. This path may be a path that was regularly taken by the people who once occupied, or the person who once occupied this cabin. But what if that was just from 3 times a day walking that way to use the bathroom?
Yeah.
And doing it away from the house because the urine, I don't know, does it attract predators or something? I'm making up camping wilderness things.
You know what's pretty crazy is that they walk past the sign that said shit house this way.
Did they really?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it's like, I saw this movie 3 times, I don't remember that. But like, you don't know what that is. What if that's just a path that the owner took to a stream because they fished out of that stream all the time? It's not necessarily going to civilization.
Now, a lot of people do attack that they went on this trail, but if you think about it, Dom is mad at Hutch because Hutch took him on a supposed shortcut. Phil doesn't speak up, and then Dom and Luke aren't on the best, they're not on the same page. So when Dom takes off that way, then Phil goes that way. Then Hutch is already worried about his shortcut, so he goes. So in that moment, the perfect circumstances happen to get that on that trail.
I think that I wouldn't be so hesitant about taking the trail because in my head, if this is a trail and I don't like it, I can just turn around and come back to the cabin, which isn't necessarily the way it goes, but
yeah.
That would be a reason that I'd be okay taking that trail because it would be hard to get lost. I could just turn around, but then they go beyond.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They go beyond, they're wandering off and yeah, so it's after they leave here that eventually they do wander across this kind of like vestige of a tent.
Oh yeah. And
that's what I had my wires crossed earlier.
From 84.
Right, yeah, they find a tent and they find like a wallet in it with a credit card that expires in 1984. And it's in like the tent. It was almost like it was fully flattened and interred by like layers of pine needles, just decades worth of fallen pine needles and then disintegrating almost into soil.
Yeah, I guess that would happen in what? 94, like what?
30.
Yeah, 33 years? 30?
Yeah.
Well, I guess yeah.
Sure. And that gave them the notion that, okay, people have been out here and have gotten perhaps stuck out here or lost out here, because you don't just leave your whole tent and your wallet and things like that unless something happened to you.
Or you wanted, oh no, that's playing the long game. You knew someone in 30 years would come along and think you're dead.
It's like, dude, somewhere between now and 50 years from now, someone's going to find this, and hopefully they'll check through our stuff, and hopefully they'll find my fanny pack, and hopefully open my wallet, and hopefully the credit card will still be there and not be all scuffed up and will be legible.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's going to freak them out.
Yeah. And then he's in a beach in Tahiti. He's like, man, I hope it happened.
I mean, so yeah, things are starting to get weird. Like, at this point, when I first saw this, I had no idea where this was going. Like, I didn't know what kind of movie I was watching. Oh yeah, when they left the house, but there were all those markings on the trees too.
Yeah, oh yeah, there was a lot. And in my head, my first viewing, I'm like, did they do that overnight? But those were there, and they just didn't see them throughout the night.
Right, yeah. When I first saw it, I started to think, like, was this the Blair Witch scenario where someone was, like, almost sleepwalking and possessed, right? And doing it. But yeah, I started to think to myself the same thing, especially the second time watching. It's like, it was storming, it was raining, yeah, you had flashlights, but you were rushing into the cabin. And Rafe Spall stayed outside, Luke, but he was freaked out because he thought there was something going on out there. He was, like, nervously looking around for a person or a thing.
Can I tell you something cool about the night shoots on this film?
You may.
So they used like a really nice new Sony camera on this movie, which here, let me pull this up. So they used this like really nice Sony camera that had a very high shutter speed, and so they were able to shoot a lot at night with just flashlights. So since the Sony had such a fast lens speed that it excelled in low light conditions, they covered a lot of stuff in the twilight hours, which is pretty cool. So if you watch this movie at night, normally I really hate how... Alright, so Roger Deakins is my favorite cinematographer, and when he shoots at night, he only uses practical lighting. And that means if there's a lamplight, they use that lamplight. If you watch sometimes in movies, there's these lights in cars that can't be explained. And I loved how this movie at night was very practically lit. And I thought it set a really nice and kind of cool precedent for the film, and that's because of the cinematography of this movie. And also what I found out is, I told you about this earlier, and sorry, this is kind of stopping the momentum of the movie, but I thought it was really neat. This movie shoots in 2.1, which... If you watch this film, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, I really like the look of this movie, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And if you put this on in Netflix, right, when you watch it, most movies, they use a 239:1 aspect ratio, which means it's much longer, it's widescreen, and on the bottom you have the bigger black bars. So they call that the padding on the top and bottom because of the widescreen, because it has to be longer. But when they use 2:1, there's more screen on there, so it makes the trees, so you don't get as much widescreen, but the trees look bigger, and the trees look more ominous, and the creature looks better. And Spielberg, when he made Jurassic Park, he shot in 1.85, which... when you put it on, like let's say you have the movie, put it on, and you will notice that there's not as much padding on the bottom, but it's not widescreen, but when the creatures come on screen, they're massive. And also in Jurassic World, which we're not really fans of, they also shot in 2.1, but the cinematographer wanted to use, this is weird speak, but he wanted to use 2.39:1, but Spielberg's like, no, so they settled on 2:1 as well. So if you watch Lost World, or The Crown on Netflix, or this movie, The Ritual, you will see that there's not as much padding on top and the bottom on the widescreen, and there's just, it may not be as wide, but the trees look bigger, the dinosaurs look bigger, it just fills up the screen, and I love that David Bruckner the director and the cinematographer made a conscious decision to make this movie in 2:1 to just make the trees look bigger, and the creature look bigger. And I really respected the cinematography behind this movie.
That's interesting. So when I take photos, when I'm on a trip and I take photos, the typical commentary that I have is that I hate taking photos of landscapes or of paths with trees on either side or of mountains, because my notion is that you never capture the sense of scale. And so it sounds like you're also telling me that maybe this helps capture scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So just watch Jurassic Park, watch Jurassic World, and because of the less padding, that obviously there's nothing's cut off, but it doesn't have the padding on the side. It's not as widescreen. But watch those movies, and when that Jurassic Park hits, when the Indominus Rex hits, when you get to this movie and they're lost in the ridges, when that scene where Ray Spall goes up to the ridges by himself, that massive area of trees, it looks massive and it looks impressive on there. And that shows that this director really thought about this movie. And like you're saying, you do get a really neat sense of scale with this film.
So you mentioned when when Luke runs up to the ridge to go looking around.
Yeah.
That was the first time that we saw any of the creature.
It is. And I have a question for you. There's a theory that the creature, it kind of warps the forest.
So it's an interesting notion. I heard that, like that it had some manner of control over the trees or the landscape. And I don't need that to be an element of the creature's backstory or abilities to believe anything that I saw occur in the film. So it is not necessarily important to me whether or not it has this ability, but I didn't see anything that was suggestive of that to me. I feel like most of the humans' inability to locate it was it knowing the woods, them not being able to see in the dark, them being panicked, the creature not being panicked. The fact that the creature was so vertically long in these pine woods, I mean, it didn't strike me as necessary. Is it convenient? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's never said in the film. A lot of people are just implying it, and you don't need it. And I could go either way with it. But for some reason, I believe yes. And it's not important. If you said you don't believe it, I'd be like, that's cool, man. Let's go get a beer. Like, it's not important to me, but for some reason, I kind of buy it just because maybe rescue parties or people had gone missing before, and just no one was able to find this. And there's fires lit. People would see these fires from overhead. So,
yeah, and not to jump into it just yet, because we'll get more into the creature details later, but the very nature of the creature does not make it far-fetched that it would have such ability.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, so
yeah, and you're mentioning, the fires. You mentioned fires. People would probably see the fires from a distance, the black smoke of these fires that go for a while. That's a fair point, too. That's interesting. Or maybe or could that just be passed off as a random forest fire?
I'll tell you what, man, this is one of the first movies where I've just analyzed the living daylights out of it. It's kind of awesome.
Well, you know what? It stands up pretty well to our analysis. Well, we're going to get deeper into it in the second half of the pod, but I feel like it stands up pretty well. Again, you brought up that point about manipulating the forest, and my answer started with, you know what? It didn't matter to me whether or not it could.
Yeah. Hey, so how about this? I really want to talk about the monster, but we should probably take a break. And we should probably go find a burger joint that actually has ultimate burgers. And then we'll be disappointed by them because they're really not ultimate burgers. And then we'll come back and we'll finish the podcast.
Done.
Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. Those were not ultimate burgers, John.
No, there's nothing just more stale in life than a subpar burger.
Than a subpar ultimate burger.
It's nothing ultimate about it anymore. It's not even penultimate at that point.
Right? It's just hyperbole.
Yep. It felt more like a lighty.
I've become so cynical that when I see ultimate burgers, I go, yeah, right.
At that point, I just want a Jack in the Box after that.
I had an Irish breakfast burger on St. Paddy's Day, which is basically an Irish breakfast on top of a burger. And the guy's like, yeah, man, it's like 18 inches high. And I got it, and it would look like any other burger.
Yeah.
Everyone at the table was disappointed.
That always bothered me, by the way. It's almost like it's like trailers lying about the content of a movie. When you see the image of the sandwich, and it's this big, full, it's almost like voluptuous looking sandwich, and then you get it, and it's this like deflated, like, I don't know, just a sorry, like, anemic version of what was pictured.
Yeah, it's just, I actually worked on those pictures for a long time, so I should know better. But,
Like when they use Elmer's glue for like the milk and the cereal and the breakfast commercials.
I bought so many weird things for commercials. But I'll tell you what though, while we were out, you and I, man, we picked up some good Sixers on the way back. I mean, you're in Florida, I'm here. We took a break that was about 4 days. But I got some great beer from Florida, and you got some great beer from Georgia.
Dude, I did.
I'll tell you what, man. If I had my Untapped app on me right now, I would give this Funky Buddha Last Snow a 4.5 to 4.75. It is one of my favorite beers.
Dude, Funky Buddha can do little wrong in this world. I'm a big fan of that Last Snow.
What I appreciate most about Funky Buddha is that Funky Buddha, when Funky Buddha says a beer's going to taste a certain way, that Funky Buddha beer tastes that way.
In the best of unfunky yet funky ways.
No, it's good. Like, a lot of times I'll drink a beer and they advertise as Super Caramel S'more IPA, and I drink it and it's nothing like it. But
and they'll be like, oh, subtle hints of whatever, and you're like, no.
No, but this Funky Buddha Last Snow has everything it could be and more. Look it up.
Dude, that's a solid beer, that Last Snow. I got turned on to that by a good friend. And they're a better friend now that I tried Funky Buddha's Last Snow myself.
They're no longer an acquaintance?
Yeah, right. They have advanced. Dude, so I've got the Lord Grey Earl Grey Tea Sour Ale. And when I first heard about this, I thought this was the weirdest sounding sour one could find. It's from Three Taverns. Where is this made? Three Taverns.
Decatur, Georgia.
Decatur, good lord. And I've had several of their beers. I've quite liked a lot of their sours. But Lord Grey, I read this on Untapped because I was thinking, what on earth have people been saying about this Earl Grey tea sour, dude? And I read about it, and the description that they posted, that the industry posted, it's like, oh, hints of lavender. And I'm like, no one tastes lavender, and I tasted it. Mark, I tasted purple. No, this thing is delicious. And you think of like notions of tea and how that wouldn't really, like, I couldn't make that work in my head with a sour beer. And good lord, it really works. And it's not super lighter bodied like I'd consider analogous with something that was tea flavored. It's still boldly flavored and has a good body. And yet, boy, again, lavender and the tea. Very impressed with Lord Grey. Very impressed.
Three Taverns and Funky Buddha, we applaud you.
Oh, yeah. And Untapped, you can also sponsor us.
So once again, Funky Buddha, Three Taverns, and Untapped. Free beer. Please.
Expect to be tagged on Twitter. Any of our listeners who follow our Twitter posts, that's how that goes.
Give us a beer.
Oh, really? No, fantastic beers. I would not plug a beer that I didn't think was fantastic, knowing that our listeners might try it, trusting us. Fantastic beers.
Yeah, I mean, and we do it. We do it because we love it. And the nice part about having our podcast is we just talk about movies we love, and we also talk about beers we love as well.
I talk too much about beers, but right now I just also got into this Creature Comforts Cocoa Booney Milk Porter. That's a little bit of coconut roasty coffee deliciousness.
Nice. Dude, I love Creature Comforts Cocoa Bunny.
Oh my god, Creature Comforts. They're another outfit that can do no wrong with their Tropicalia. But this is not a beer podcast. I gotta curve it in. Get that old 1950s hook to pull me off stage.
You gotta stop Acalia. Yeah.
Stop Acalia the Tropicalia.
All right, let's get back into the movie, and you and I are really anxious to dive into the monster. We're basically Rodney Dangerfield and Back to School. We just want to triple Lindy right into this amazing beast. But I kind of want to, before we get there, I just want to finish up how our main characters got there. And basically, they camp overnight. They once again get stuck overnight. Luke has a dream about the creature. The creature comes, takes Hutch, and it kills Hutch, sticks him up in a tree and guts him. And then Phil, Luke, and Dom come across it. They freak out, and then they start walking through the ridges. They start going southwest. They think they find a way out, but then the creature strikes again and kills Phil. This forces Dom and Luke to run down a trail and bust into a house filled with a bunch of gross people.
Yeah, and by the way, that was the scene that we were referring to earlier where Luke rose to leadership, and I was joking about him saying we have to run on 3 when his friend's leg is all gimpy. And that's when we were down to 2 survivors. That was a very interesting scene, too. That scene was particularly drawn out to me in a way that worked.
Yeah,
when they were in the dark with the flashlights.
And the lighting was really good once again, and I liked how Rafe Spall was the one out and about, and then he turns around and Dom's hiding.
Can we just pledge that whatever film that this director does next, we do a podcast on?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. And once again, you should watch VHS and Southbound for his contributions. They're very good.
Yeah, very impressive.
He also did The Signal.
Wait, which one? Because there were 2 movies called The Signal.
Not the Charlie Sheen one. It's just the anthology movie about the signal that makes people all weird. And a lot of people in Atlanta worked on it. A lot of industry people that I worked with have worked on it. And
the signal that makes people kill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not Cell. And it's not Mom and Dad, which is pretty good. We'll get into Mom and Dad some other time. But
that'd be a good podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I like him a lot as a director, and I think he handled that scene well. Like you said, it was drawn out, and I don't know. Rafe Spall, he didn't become an instant leader. He just kind of knew what had to be done.
And even though it was in a moment of desperation, I felt like it wasn't forgiveness per se, but we were seeing Luke, Rafe Spall, being afforded trust from a friend in whom he had lost trust.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just blindly desperate. They were scared, and he decided that he was going to trust him. It's still as scared as they were. It felt conscious.
But if you watch
that decision making,
if you watch Clear and Present Danger, you know that the best thing to do is move. So I like that he tried to move. You know.
Well, I mean that thing. I mean, it knows where they are.
Yeah.
They've got a. That was maybe a little dumb, but they were very scared. But he's just holding the flashlight. Like, it knows where they are. And I'm assuming it sees in the dark pretty well anyway.
Like, there's these movies where, like, turn off the flashlight, and the creature's 10 feet away. It's like, now we're not going to see it when it attacks us.
Right, that's true. Yeah, it has the upper hand here.
At least we could just try to blind it. Like, if you're running at somebody and they have one of those super flashlights and they bomb in your eye, you're going to have the fuzzies in your eyes for, like, that's a technical term.
Maglight them.
Yeah, maglight them and then bonk them. I mean, maglight. So wait.
It works for the bouncers.
Yeah, that's right. So now you and I are talking about, hey, listen, man, if I was in that grocery store and I had a maglight, oh, yeah.
Well, hold on, though. We didn't mention a maglight as an option. Obviously, he would have rushed in to play with a maglight.
I would have taken my shirt off. I would have ripped a piece off. I would have put it in the bottle, lit it on fire, and threw it at the guys.
It's elaborate.
Hold up, I'm ripping my shirt.
Right, it's like, well, wait, it doesn't rip as quickly as it does in the movies. It keeps stretching. It's stretching while I'm trying to rip it. It's not working.
And then I'm like, I'm not Macho Man. And the guy's like, Hulk Hogan did that. I'm like, shut up, you tweaker. I'm like, Macho Man ripped his shirt too. No, they're like, no, he didn't. He had a scepter and a hat. He never wore a shirt. And he had a big cloak. And I'll be like, there was a time in 87 when he did it. And the guy's like, show me the video. And I YouTube it. And I was wrong. And then he still kills Robert.
Now I gotta go do some YouTubing on Macho Man.
Watch a clip. Watch a clip where the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man had a feud, and Macho Man hit Ultimate Warrior on the head with his scepter, and Ultimate Warrior does a speech like, hit me on the head with his scepter, and some of the gems have landed into my skull, and they called out into the world that I got the powers. And then Macho Man's like, oh yeah,
Wait, what is he, Thanos?
Yeah,
Are these like Infinity?
And then Macho Man's like, oh yeah, when I hit him with that scepter, it exploded his head, but he thought he got powers, but I took his power. You know, it's a really great. Back in Stephanie was in there. It's a great back and forth about powers that a scepter crystal can give you.
So speaking of monstrous people,
oh, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into the monster. So eventually, they make it into the village. They make it into this village of actual people that are very weird and speaking a language that They don't understand.
Ancient.
And they're dressed in mostly rags, but some of them are a little more contemporary.
They look like pilgrims.
They look like they've been there for a while without cable or DVRs.
Yeah, one of them had a Charles Barkley shirt when he was playing with the Pistons.
That's old.
Or David Rodman when he was playing for the Spurs.
And so they get taken, and this is where we start to get hints of what's going on about the monster. Without seeing the monster, this is where we start to learn bits about our creature. And they get bonked, they get kicked in the head and knocked out, and they get basically locked up. And this little old lady who's almost kind of has a witch-like look to her comes skulking in, gives some water to Luke, doesn't give water to the other guy for some reason. She checks to make sure Luke had the mark first, though. She shows Luke that she has the mark as well. And we're starting to get this idea that, okay, he has something in common with this old lady. The old lady doesn't like the unmarked fellow. And off she goes, and we start to get a little more exposition.
How rude was it that she did not give Dom water?
Dude.
Like, that's just mean.
Luke almost felt like desperate. Like, what? Give him some too.
Yeah. Oi! Oi! I gotta tell you, there is a scene though where Ray Spall's talking, and if you watch this movie, he starts to sound like Michael Caine. I won't do the impersonation, but just watch it, and then we'll fast forward. But yeah, so we're back with the monster. He starts talking to this lady, right? Luke does.
The young lady.
Yeah, talks to a young lady, and he's like, what is it?
In a jean jacket.
In a jean jacket. She's from the 80s. She was a fan of Madonna. And she's like, it's a Jotun. It's a child of Loki, who was a promiscuous fellow.
Bastard son of Loki. Basically a god. Some spirit of the forest.
And they're like, oh, you keep it kidnapped. Or it keeps you here. And you're like, no, we worship it.
Right, yeah, you worship it, and it lets you live beyond natural years or something like that. And so we get this notion that these people have been here for a very long time. They live a very long time. They're clearly kind of captive, yet captivated by this creature. And there was something about being chosen. There was something about being marked, which we know Luke is because the old lady showed us hers. And we see this young lady, who's in the jean jacket. I call her a young lady, but for all I know, she can't be 100. She's got a jean jacket. So she might be like 45.
Yeah, so like, let's say she has a jean, alright, so let's say she was a fan of Madonna. That's the 80s, right? Late 80s. So she was about 30, so 99, 2009. Yeah, so let's say she's at the most 58.
So she met up with Isabella Rossellini in Death Becomes Her and got poked on the finger with that special juice that makes her live forever.
That's right. With a jean jacket.
With a jean jacket.
I mean, whoever made that jean jacket, that's a quality jean jacket.
I think that they were trapped in that, kind of like Kirsten Dunst in Interview with the Vampire when she tried to cut her hair. It just magically grew back to her vampire birth length.
Yeah, Tim Allen in the
and the Santa Claus when he shaves.
Steve Carell and Evan Almighty.
So we've learned a lot. In a very short period of time, there was kind of an exposition dump. And it wasn't a bad exposition dump, but this is where we get a lot of information. We just uploaded Kung Fu like Neo in the Matrix. We're starting to get an idea about the rules, if you will, of our creature.
In the words of Pitch Perfect 3, that's a lot of exposition.
It's a lot of exposition.
But it was good, though. It was handled well. Yeah. And I think she would have talked, all jokes aside, she would have talked to Luke about this because he was marked.
With this exposition, which felt appropriately tropey, can I sneak in a listener question, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't even have to sneak them in.
I'm going to sneak this in like a Jotun monster that has control of the trees in the forest.
Ooh. So I'm not even going to know that you asked it.
So this is from a Twitter user, by the way, who we've never encountered. They have a podcast. It's at NZGG Podcast. It's like the New Zealand Geek Guy podcast, I think.
Oh, nice.
But they say, was it too cliche horror, separating, sleeping in the creepy house, going off track, etc.? By the way, the answer is, yes, it was cliche. Don't separate when Scandinavia's answer to the Krampus is hunting you. Now, they said that maybe being funny, because obviously our characters didn't know that they were being hunted by Scandinavia's answer to the Krampus. But was it a little too cliche? We brought that up in the beginning, and we brought that up a little bit in the middle, and we brought that up. I just brought it up again, and there are a lot of things that echo classic cliches. But I typically feel, and I think that we fall in the same opinion here, that they're being brought up appropriately.
They know what they're wielding. They know it's cliche.
Yeah, they know it's cliche. They're delivering it in tactful ways.
I mean, we have seen so many fights, but when you see a good fight, you know it. I mean, in every single fight, every single baseball game, someone swings a bat, someone catches a ball, someone pitches, but you know the really good games, and you know the classics, and so all movies have that DNA, and there are cliches that are. I mean, CinemaSins would have a lot of fun with this movie, but it handles them well. It plays ball well, and it wields its cliches good. I didn't want to say well for a third time in a row.
Oh, well for a third time? Because everyone thought you were going to.
No, because Candyman would jump out and kill my ass.
Dude, the well monster. Oh my god, Samara.
Ooh.
Samara's the well monster, who I called Samoa in a couple podcasts.
Didn't I make a joke one time about being in a loud bar and yelling Bloody Mary to a bartender 3 times when you're standing in front of a mirror?
That sounds like a urban legend sequel.
That's a funny bit. Like, that's an SNL bit.
Like, does it just appear and start killing anybody? Does it know who said it because it was so loud and distracting?
I feel like Bloody Mary would get it. Like, Bloody Mary would pop out, go to the bartender, and be like, yo, he wants a Bloody Mary. And then
he's not saying my name.
The bartender's like, this is the 5th time. Like, you guys have great Bloody Marys. You put all the bacon on there. You put a burger on it, mini burger, little slider. You do everything. It's celery. I mean, we're talking Tabasco. It's beautiful. But it's so loud in here, people just keep calling me. I'm tired of it. Turn the music down, or read lips better. That's what Bloody Mary would say to these bartenders.
So, it's hard to segue from that. So
I'm like a human. I'm like these guys going off path all the time. So I can't even talk crap about them going off path, because that's pretty much what I do.
Mark, don't be so cliche. So we've gotten our again, I'm politely, I'm ironically calling this an exposition dump. We get this. And she also reveals that that Luke was marked because he's endured great suffering.
Yep.
And so we understand that is why he was chosen. And throughout the film leading up to now, ever since the opening scene where he witnesses his friend get killed, we've had almost every time that he's had a fear of the monster, including the nightmare in the cabin in the first place, he is pulled back mentally, like PTSD, into that recollection. It echoes his reality, and he sees himself in that liquor store.
Yeah, and the director even kind of mentioned that there is a certain form of that, certain PTSD that he would have. So that's what he gets pulled into, for sure.
So whenever they're in danger, whenever he senses that the creature is there, whether or not it is, even if it's just a dream or something, that's when he's taken. That's when we see it. That's when we see the flickering lights, fluorescent lights come on.
Yeah, because that's what he kind of gets led to, correct?
Yeah, and so, and again, when I saw the trailer, I didn't know what kind of movie I was getting into. Right? I didn't know, is there a monster? Is he the monster? Is this a paranoia thing where it's almost like high tension, where one of them ends up, killing all the others? Are they getting Blair Witched? Is there a monster that we never see? Is there a monster that we do see? We've evaluated now that there is a monster that we do end up seeing bits of.
Yeah, and
right?
I did not, I thought this was going to be a bunch of dudes get kidnapped and tortured, like a Taristas movie or something. I did. And then when this monster came out, I'm going to tell you, the first time I saw it, I didn't appreciate this monster until the second time around when I watched the movie.
I was actually very enamored with it when I first saw it, just because of its shape was so not otherworldly. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it was so twisted and unlike anything I had seen before that I fell in love with it.
I guess it's kind of weird because maybe I was just like, oh, it's a monster. Oh, it's CGI. It's kind of weird. I kind of wrote it off immediately. Like my thinking it was cliche kind of wrecked it, and then when I went at it with fresh eyes again, I respected it more.
Were you surprised when you discovered that there was literally a physical monster?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a convoluted listener question.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear it.
All right, Johnny Numb from he writes for Loud Green Bird. He works with Crash Palace in the Last Knock podcast. Johnny Numb's given us a lot of great questions. Johnny Numb actually calls this a convoluted listener question. He, by the way, has given us the longest listener question now that I'm pretty sure we've ever had. It's 103 words. 183 words.
So he overtook D-Bag, Daryl, and Chris Kelly now. So he is number one on our list.
I feel like we need to dig up word counts for all these, but I'm pretty sure this takes it. When I just see this written on a page, this is the biggest. Okay, get ready for a thesis. Convoluted listener question. I have neither read nor seen The Ritual, but have a general idea of the plot. I've also been consistently confusing it with the 1977 Canadian film Rituals, starring Hal Holbrook. That film, Rituals from 1977, had an older group of men, doctors all of them, going into the woods as part of an annual retreat, the ritual of the title, only to be stalked by unknown assailants. One of the few things I know about The Ritual, our current movie, is that a monster enters the story at some point. Whether it's real or figurative, I have no clue. In Rituals, the screenwriter wanted the villain to be ambiguous, but was pressured into actualizing the antagonist. For me, an Into the Woods movie like the Blair Witch Project works so well because the threat is never heard nor seen, allowing the paranoia and desperation of the characters to inflect the viewer. I have nothing against putting an actual monster in the woods, but I'm curious as to what you guys find more effective. Paranoia and the unseen, possibly conjured monster, or the CGI creation itself, which is occasionally a guy in a suit. That was a big, big question.
And I think it's very valid. And for me, I think it's tough to bring up Blair Witch because Blair Witch nails it. That ending on Blair Witch, when I saw it, I saw it in a movie when I was working in a movie theater. Saw it on a Thursday night. The screening was delayed, so it started at like 1 a.m. and I was younger then, so I could actually stay up and watch the whole movie. But when I walked out of that movie with my brother, we were both shell shocked at what had just happened. And I think, but then you look at other movies that just kind of barely show their monster, or they leave that up there. That's, for me, I love Blair Witch, but I also love movies like The Descent that show over 7 minutes of their monster. I love Jaws that shows over 4 minutes. I know I'm talking about different things, in people's head manifestations. But I also love Take Shelter is also one of my favorite movies ever made, and you never quite know what's going on at the ending.
And Monsters, which is about giant monsters when we never actually see the monsters.
Yeah, you see them at the end for a solid 2 minutes, but you never quite know what they are, and there's a sense of wonder to them, which I really enjoyed. But I think I would rather have a monster or a manifestation or a creature than not and have it rely on paranoia, because I think Blair Witch Project, at least for me, is one of the norms of being so good with paranoia. But then if you like movies that are close, maybe are Get Out and Rosemary's Baby, but both those movies have they have villains. Like, it's not in their heads.
They're also very revealed, ultimately.
Yeah, and like at the end, you do reveal it in Rosemary's Baby, and Get Out, you learn pretty quickly at the end what's going on. So I think it's about the build-up, it's about creating that paranoia, but this is a long-winded answer, but I think it's really hard to compare. I just think Blair Witch nailed it, and if other movies could nail it like that, I'm all for it, but I haven't seen it since Blair Witch.
Your answer was almost as long as the question.
This one tore me up, man. I'm like, I don't know. It's a hard answer for me to really nail down. And I thought about this a lot, and I thought I had an answer for it. Like, hey, I would rather see creatures. But I think the ending, the two of the endings that have affected me most in my life, End of Blair Witch and Take Shelter. The end of Take Shelter just left me in ruins. Like, I tried to explain it to my wife, and after I watched it, I almost like broke down crying about the end because it's just so you never quite know. So I guess if I had an option of them being done right, I'd rather have it not be shown and have it be more about the paranoia and manifestations.
So when I watch a monster movie, I want to know that I'm watching a monster movie. I want to choose to watch a movie where I'm going to see some creature chasing people around. I want to choose that.
Not like it comes at night where it doesn't come at night.
Or even the movie They Look Like People, which implies that this guy's best friend is in fact some monster that just looks like people. And in that movie, though, they do a good job of letting you understand that you're probably never going to know the answer. And if you do, it's going to be at the last minute. So the movie goes on, it's all psychological, whether or not there's really a monster, you'll know in the last minute. They decide not to show you in that particular movie. They decide to, or I'm sorry, they do, and there wasn't a monster. So they show you it wasn't a monster. I like to know that I'm watching a monster movie, or I like to know I'm watching a paranoia movie. And I like the paranoia movie to just leave me wondering what the source is. And that's my source of mystery. So I went into this thinking, I don't know what kind of movie this is. And when I was like 30 minutes into this movie, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a paranoia movie. One of them is going to end up chopping all the others up. So when I saw that hand, when Luke ran up to the clearing,
yeah,
I thought that was in his head because it was a hand.
Yeah.
I thought that was in his head, that he thought he was being stalked. It was literally his demons stalking him. So I really thought I was on it. And when I discovered that was really an effed up creature, I was actually so happy to be wrong, even though normally I absolutely want to know I'm watching a monster movie. And this movie was like, some people didn't like this for some reason. It turned out to be everything that I realized I always wanted. That surprise, that lead-in, it's like, this is a paranormal movie. No, that's just his demon stalking him. Holy crap, that's a real demon.
Yeah, this movie's only 50% on Rotten Tomatoes as far as an audience score. And that's low, and that's a bummer.
Oh, that's low. I think that's a shame. I'm pretty sure this is going to find its cult following.
Yeah. Well,
it's
Forbes,
too cool a movie.
Yeah, I mean, Forbes, Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central, Collider, our website. There's a lot of websites backing this movie. So it's going to find its audience for sure. I mean, Forbes already said it has a cult audience. I mean, this is going to be, it'll find it for sure. And then I guess do you want to talk about the monster, or do you want to talk about what goes on? So Dom doesn't get water. He gets strung up. The creature comes out in the form of his wife, picks him up and sticks him on a tree.
But you made a shapeshifter comment about that, as I recall to me.
Well, that's what the director said. So he said it just sort of appears to what the people want to see. So that I'm going off what the director said.
I take that as it almost had like an enchanting power, and it made him see that.
Well, all right, that's fine. I guess that's cool too.
Yeah, but there's no way to know. There's no way to really, I guess, know that. That's just like, that was just my take on it when I was watching. I didn't know the director's commentary, but that was interesting too, because that wasn't a major source of his guilt that was revealed.
I don't think it was guilt. I think he just was thinking about his wife.
Like, that will soothe you as I approach you to kill you.
I think they go to what is most important to them. So his wife was his life. So
sure.
he went to that. Rafe Spall had his guilt. The other guy, Hutch, kind of like was afraid of maybe being wrong. Like he had that fear. And then Phil just would resort to begging because he had a family. This is all a guess, but assumptions made. That's kind of the way I see it. So he kind of manifests on what you maybe care most about, or what he can get you with. I mean, if there's a creature that poses my wife, I'd be pretty pissed, but it would also be pretty effective, you know?
That'd be That's just insidious.
Yeah, I bet he's like the red lipstick demon from Insidious.
So we do get to see this demon, and we see it kind of pick him up. It's got these Krampus hands, I call them, these dark insidious demon Krampus hands. It's got a face hidden inside of what looks like a giant, maybe elk's skull at the muzzle. It looks like it has another distorted human body at the top of this head that is perhaps holding antlers in place. It has, we later learn, another set of humanoid limbs in the middle of its body, and the base of its body is like a giant, sort of really long front-limbed elk thing.
Yeah, it's like a malformed elk giraffe.
But like really long front limbs, which is like, yeah, just almost unnaturally long.
And is the head like 2 humans?
It's at least 2 humans.
And then there's two arms that hold up the antlers, right?
Right. So it's almost like it seems like there's the upper half of a human body at the top of the head, and then there's an upper half of a human body that would be aimed at you, projecting where the mouth would be, where there are these hands like predator mandibles, and then the face inside of it, right? And then there were also, don't forget, there's the human limbs in the middle of it. When it rears up later in the movie, we see that in between its 4 animal-like limbs, there was a set of human limbs.
This thing was awesome. I'll tell you
it's
what.
So eerie.
When they finally show, the money shot of it, kind of in silhouette from far away, the second
With the
time
fire in the background.
The second time I watched it, I was very impressed with kind of how elegant and weird and how good that monster was. This is a good movie monster.
It's so cool. And so it was revealed earlier in the movie. They gave us the name, the Jotun, the bastard son of Loki, this god-like thing. And so, I had seen a video online, the guy who does Everything Explained, he was, pointing out, okay, this is the same thing that, or Wikipedia will tell you, this is the same thing that, Norse mythology's trolls and giants often were. And then in the Thor movies, this is what the frost giants were, and thus what Loki was. In fact, even though he didn't look as distorted as the other frost giants. And so these were these godly offspring of gods that peppered Norse mythology, these monsters. And Wikipedia would suggest that while mostly they were giants, they weren't all necessarily giants. They were just, giant wasn't what we call a giant and isn't a very tall humanoid. Giant was more like a large, monstrous form. And this was certainly a large, monstrous nightmare fuel-like form. God, this thing was cool. It had those eyes, the glowing eyes. It just...
And I like that the director, he went into this going, we're going to show this monster. And the guy who created it was a guy named Keith Thompson, who's worked with Del Toro a lot, of course. And I guess, here, I just read this, and we had to feature it, and that meant that we had to kind of literalize not just how it looks, but how it chooses to present. Because the idea of these kinds of shape-shifting Norse gods is that they can kind of choose how they want to look to you. So what you're seeing is how it desires to be interpreted, and it's part of the way it intimidates and controls. So did everyone see it differently?
I don't necessarily know if that's true, or if that was just how it perceived that people in general wanted to see it, or if it was like the Matrix where it was its self-image. It was how it wanted to be seen by people. Who's to say how the bastard son of a god thinks?
Yeah, that thing was a real shithead. It loved hanging people in trees, I'll tell you that.
That was mean. And apparently that linked into the mythology as well. I'm an entomologist, so I say morphology. I can't help that.
Why did it hang up animals?
The animal, that's a good question. Maybe
that's not a sacrifice.
Was that like an elk or a caribou looking thing?
Yeah, but what, like, is it worshiping something? Or is it hanging these things up as a ritual? Like, are these people worshiping it, but then it's worshiping something?
Maybe it just likes impaling things.
Yeah.
It's a bastard son. Maybe it's like a kid with a magnifying glass over some ants.
I mean, I guess if you need help to impale people.
Practice makes perfect.
He loves hanging stuff in trees.
He loves impaling people. So, and apparently in the book, this creature was based on the black goat of the forest from H.P. Lovecraft's writing.
Yeah, the director even admitted to that. Like, he wanted to have a Lovecraft feel.
Yeah, and I don't know if I felt like the madness aspect harkened more to Lovecraft than the creature, but either way, I loved the way the whole thing went.
And you know what I like about the director is he's like, I wanted to build it was a difficult construction to understand if you just glance at it, but it's a simple visual mystery that you could figure out. It's kind of neat. He's like, I want people to know what this monster's about, but at the first glance, you're like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, the whole first time I saw the movie, I didn't know what I was looking at almost.
So he's not hiding it. He actually at first you're like, what is it? But if you do your research, you can kind of place this thing together. And I respect that from the director.
Honestly, yeah, people watching this movie, if you just saw it once, and then you listen to us, like, go watch this again. And even if you fast forward to the scenes with the creature, and every time you see a scene with the creature, once you've processed it, just rewind that scene. And then, instead of paying attention to the scene, just pay attention to the creature. It's really neat seeing its movements. There are weird things about it. One of its arm-like antlers actually moves a little bit at one point on its own, like it's almost straightening out like a stiff limb. There's some weird stuff going on.
How'd you feel about Luke's response to it? So Dom gets killed, then Luke sees it. And this is a really interesting scene is Luke goes upstairs when he's in this house and he goes into this area. It's almost like a church pew with someone at the front. Like it's almost like a church with someone at the front, the way they're kind of lined up. And these are ancient. These are decomposing bodies, but they come to life and then he burns them all. So
yeah, very limply come to life.
What's the theory about these people?
So again, this is something I heard from the Ritual Explained guy. I can't think of his name now. I feel badly. I got to give him credit. But he had pointed out that because these people get to live unnaturally beyond their years, that these might have been the first people to have worshipped this Jotun. And so these might be thousands of year old people. And even though they haven't died per se, their soul is still in there. Their body still ages.
So they just sit around all day?
Maybe their ligaments have all rotted away, so they don't have a lot of energy left to do, burpees and stuff once a week for their wad.
So they're just sitting up there chilling?
I guess so. They're just perpetually worshiping. But then again, I mean, those old school folks from 1,000 years ago or so, maybe they're more developed.
Yeah, you're right. They got it.
Like, they aren't like the girl in the jean jacket who got to see John Cougar Mellencamp music videos before she went hiking one day and became a perpetual worshiper.
And then she looked up at the creature and it ripped her eyes out and killed her.
Yeah, I was a little curious. I mean, it's like she hesitated. Maybe, was she trying to protect the guys, or did she just not know how to react?
She was probably new. She was only been there for like 30 years. She came there from the 80s. She doesn't have much dealings with it.
I was a little surprised by that. Yeah, she got her eyes gouged. That seemed pretty mean from one of her worshippers.
But I love how Rafe Spall lights all these people on fire, which is awesome. Like, I love that scene.
These 1,000-year-old undying corpses.
And then he comes down, and then this lady, the witch-looking lady, kind of looks at him, and he knocks her out, like a Wicker Man style. And then he grabs a gun. He finds a couple bullets, shoots a guy, and the guy's like, hey man, chill out, dude, it's all good. Then he shoots him anyway. Then he sees another guy, he grabs his axe, he sees the monster, and another cool shot, kicks out the back door and runs away. Like, I was on to the, I was like, go, Rafe, go.
Yeah, and then when the monster is gonna, was it the girl he was gonna impale at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was gonna impale the girl, her body, and from a distance, Rafe is just sitting there, Luke is just sitting there, and he's got the gun. I want to think that he'd have a better shot just trying to escape. But he precariously aims and shoots the monster like in the head or something.
And the monster's like, what was that?
I know, just looks over at him.
And then starts running, and then he takes off running, so which I respected in his goofy jammy run.
Yeah, and then of course, the fluorescent lights kick on because we're hitting that desperation.
And then I love that the creature made him bow, and then he just was like, you know what, I'm not punking out anymore, and he grabs the axe and hits it in the head, and then runs out of the woods.
So there's something about this godly creature, right? I mean, we're so used to thinking of godly things as whatever, maybe all-knowing or omni this or that, and this creature just seemed to be a creature from of some level of significant power. Maybe it's just hard to kill and it's physically powerful. It can control some trees, maybe enchant you, but like, it didn't necessarily seem smart.
There was a theory that it just let Wraithspall go because Wraithspall overcame his demons and he wasn't as grief-stricken as he was.
Well, I have a little problem with that because it chased him to the edge of the forest and then roared at him.
Maybe it was like, like Free Willy, like when he's like, "Go, Willy!"
He reaches his hand up in the air.
The creature's like, "Go, Wraith!"
I feel like that creature didn't want him to get away. I feel like that creature wanted him to worship him. I mean, it might be more that because he overcame it, that was where he found his strength to try and leave. And maybe that's wherein the victory lies. Well, yeah, a little dodgy on that. I feel like that thing wanted him. I don't think that thing let him go.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised he made it out. I was expecting just him to die. But I was very happy that he made it out, and I haven't even thought twice about it. Like, I don't know how he's going to explain it to the police, but I don't know. It's like the end of Mama. It's like
I was going to say, because you love referencing the end of Mama. Like, people are going to jail.
Like, how are they going to explain a missing child? Like, how is he going to explain his friends? Like, can he even find it again if the thing can manipulate the woods?
So, we've talked a lot about the nature of the creature. One of our listener questions was from Paige Bryan, and she asked, how did they create the monster in the film? I feel like we addressed that. She also called it the coolest creature ever. The notions that they seem to cross, though, this Norse mythology, this H.P. Lovecraftian lore, that's where they stitch together the concepts.
And Keith Thompson developed it, the production designer who's worked with Guillermo del Toro before. So he and the director worked closely together to create this monster.
And then you commented, you were mentioning earlier the 2.1 way that they shot it.
Yeah.
And you had made a comment to me about comparing this to Godzilla. Or not, to King Kong.
So with King Kong, they shot it in the traditional manner, which it still looked beautiful. Peter Jackson did a great job. I'm talking about the most recent one, not the classic 1933.
The 2006.
Yeah, so they shot that in a 2.239 to 1 ratio. So they definitely have more padding on the screen. So when you see it in a theater, it looks great, but it loses a little bit of its awesomeness when you watch it on your TV at home.
So just like that scale-like magnitude of the monster, I guess, just works better.
Yeah, in 2 to 1.
In 2 to 1. That's interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
well, I don't know about that.
I mean, like it's really pretty new. I mean, a director back in the day really kind of loved it. They actually called it the Univisium, and there was a guy who shot Apocalypse Now, and which is interesting. There's a big controversy because he switched to 2 to 1 on the Blu-ray. People didn't like it, so they had to go back to the original anamorphic widescreen for another edition of the film. So 2 to 1 is kind of picking up now, but I think The Crown is the best looking show I've seen in years, and it uses 2 to 1 beautifully. And I think it just helps. It doesn't show the entire landscape. It's not like a panorama type shot, but it really gives a nice sense of scale, and that's what this creature had. So that's my spiel. That's my wait. I'm gonna do a Michael Caine. No, I can't do it. I was gonna say that's what I got, and I'm sticking to it. But no, I think this is a good monster. It's a good monster that was created. I think the low audience score is because people just didn't know what to expect because of this film. Because you hear The Ritual, and you think it's just going to be some occultist type witch movie, which also audiences didn't like. But yeah, I don't know why. Maybe people just thought, oh, this is cliche. I mean, that's got to be my biggest thing, is people just weren't that into it.
So we've got a few listener questions that are specifically about the ending. We kind of have started to get into that a good bit. And so our first question comes from Martin Knox. That's at NoxC827 from Twitter. And Martin asks, why did the second half of the film deviate so much from the book? I think the book version was much better. First off, full disclosure, I didn't read the book.
From what I read, the end of the movie features these two metalheads who are in love with death metal's black metal and a hoofed woman, and they are the ones who perform the ritual. So they
a hoofed woman like Thale?
Yeah, like I don't know what she was like, but she was a hoofed woman and two satanic death metal, black metal lovers. And I'm mixing up because I know the author doesn't like it when people mix up the two metals. But no, it's true. I worked in a bar with tons of metal bands played, and I would mix them up all the time, and they get so pissed off. But I did it on purpose because I thought it was funny to like piss off some guy who was like, he was just on stage going, "We are Satan. This song is kill everyone." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's a great like metal song. No, it's death metal." I'm like, whatever. But an interesting job. But yeah, so that just Bruckner said that's not that theatric, and he switched it over to a bunch of immortal cultists because. I don't know, for them to meet a couple death metal fans and some hoofed women to do some ritual while they're kidnapped, that wouldn't have worked in regards to this film.
That feels like how a movie starts.
Yeah, and you could work it in a book, I think, better. And I just don't think you could do it in a film, so that's why it deviates. Just the filmatic. And if you think they don't spend that much time with the cult, if you just introduce 3 characters, you gotta get to know them more. But when you introduce a crowd, it's easier to kind of gloss over them because you're not really building them as characters.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like it's one character. The character is the cult.
Yeah.
So, second question comes from Zane, friend of the pod, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Zane asks, thoughts on the ending? I know a lot of people weren't satisfied with it, but I loved it. Not an over-the-top action ending, more of a psychological change in the character that felt more real to me.
And the psychological change wasn't that big, which we talked about, and so it's more believable. And I respected that. And I really liked the ending. I'm happy he lived. I'd like to think that maybe the thing let him go, and it's not like an incapable, it's not like a bumbling, it's not Rick the Kraken Keeper. Listen to our CD. It's just let him go. And I don't even think that fire that he created was that damaging to this beast. I just think he's going to keep going on there forever, and this guy built some strength and got away. So I think it preyed on weakness, this thing, to keep people around and live forever and have this. And so but I love it. I love the ending.
Yeah, I'm with you. It took the whole movie of him being haunted by his demons for him to overcome that demon, and his guilt was something that I'm not convinced he ever should have had. It's a natural guilt to have, as we've mentioned, but he took the whole movie and all those desperate situations to overcome something that hopefully someone would have overcome with a few therapy sessions. I'm not trying to dismiss therapy, by the way. I feel like if he had talked to more people about his feelings, he would have already been at peace with this.
But if you can watch him in the beginning, he's already alienated himself from his friends because they want to do brunch. And like they were talking about avocado toast and brunch. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in. But yeah, I don't think he's that type of guy. I think he's more of like I'm going to talk smack. I'm not going to share my feelings like kind of guy. So he obviously internalized it. And then through all this, he was able to kind of overcome it.
Yeah, that was his path. And I'm in the camp of people who loved the ending. I was pleased with everything this movie did. I had no real issue, I don't think, with anything. I like the evolution that we see, just even of that cult. The 20 minutes we have, I feel like I learned a lot about that cult.
They didn't seem hateful.
No, and so we were mentioning when Luke was escaping, he, before he knocked the old lady down, there was a guy who he tried to shoot, and the gun wasn't properly set or it misfired or something. And the guy, when he misfires and the guy realized he tried to shoot him and failed, the guy keeps walking slowly towards him, just trying to explain things. Look, man, calm down, speaking Norwegian. It's like he was saying, it's like, dude, you're chosen. You're going to be one of us. It's cool. Like, he didn't do what would normally happen in the movie.
He's not even mad. He's not even mad that he killed like 70 of his friends.
But like normally when you're holding the gun at the guy and he's trying to bargain with you and then the gun doesn't fire, they're pissed off or they charge you.
Yeah.
That didn't happen here. Like, this was just someone like, dude, oh, no, I realize you're scared. You're going to be one of us. It's cool. Relax. You're in a good place. And then he shot him anyway. Like, his whole physical demeanor, regardless of language barrier, was not suggestive that he wanted to wish Luke any harm.
Yep.
But I still understand the reaction that Luke had. That was interesting. One more listener, or two more listener questions. We have Nerd Stop, which is the Nerd Stop pod, asks, this movie was great up until the ending. Okay, well, we disagree. Would you have ended it differently, and if so, how?
I would have ended it with a big dance party.
Like,
and I'm sorry to like disregard you. I feel bad because we've already talked about this ending, so I don't want to like beat a dead moose elk god. But I like the ending. I thought it ended well. I don't like overly bleak endings. I was having a conversation with Johnny Num on Twitter the other day about As Above, So Below. And this is a spoiler, but he was like, I think the ending should have been more bleak. And I was like, no, I love the refreshing. I mean, I know 3 of the 4 people died. But I liked As Above, So Below and how it ended and how there was hope at the end. And I think there is a place. And, you know, Rosemary's Baby ends with hope. She sees the baby and she's kind of smiles at it, like, hey, this is my kid. And then Get Out ends with that. The descent is ambiguous, but at least it leaves you with that. So, I don't know, I would have been really disappointed if Rafe Spall just got tortured and murdered, and that was it. And then they just panned away to, like, 87 campers die a year in Sweden, they're never found. It's my best Swedish impersonation. Or I could do there's a chocolate mousse. No, I wouldn't have ended it any differently.
I have no desire for it to have ended differently, but had it ended differently, I would have been intrigued if Luke thought he was escaping and somehow that was a part of the ritual. And then he finds himself having completed the ritual and or being trapped there or realizing somehow he belongs there or something because his actions led him to complete the ritual, and what we thought was him escaping the ritual was indeed part of the ritual, was the fighting and then realizing that you have succumbed anyway. But there would have to be a very clever way for that to be done, and I'm not suggesting I know how to architect that. And I don't want to, because I don't want to think of a better ending to something that I already think has a great ending.
Yeah, there's a place for really bleak endings, and I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, but yeah, no, I like the ending. I wouldn't have changed it.
And, at the last minute, we spent weeks accumulating these questions. You encountered one other listener question, didn't you?
Yeah, this is from Chris Kelly, and he's like, if there was an M. Night Shyamalan... See, he watched this movie and thought... He knew nothing about it, so he thought there was going to be a twist ending to it. And he's like, if there was an M. Night Shyamalan twist ending to this movie, what would it be? And I think it would just be Hutch did this as a way to get his friend's confidence back. Because all 4 of them realized that, it wasn't his fault. So this whole thing, hanging things up, he looks gutted. They just hired prosthetic artists. They hired Steve Martin from Bowfinger. And at the end, when he's fighting, he runs out and everyone's clapping for him.
See, and the funny thing is that I feel like I already answered this question with my previous answer.
Oh, because you thought it was in his head?
Well, no. Like, if as he was escaping, he thought he was escaping and fending them off, and somehow in some perhaps convoluted but clever way, it ended up that he was in fact completing the ritual, that he was self-entrapping in his resistance.
And then he looks up at the Statue of Liberty and he's like, you damn dirty apes.
And he sees Paul Giamatti and Freddie Gonzalez with one gigantic arm. and one normal arm, and then there's like a wolf made entirely out of grass. It makes no sense.
I would have been so pissed if at the end they're like, we're all alive and we just wanted you to get your confidence back. And then there's some like dead villagers. I just killed 3 people.
And then it turns out to be the old lady with the red hair. That you thought was dead halfway through the movie.
But I mean, that's yeah, that was a good question by Chris Cullen. I'm glad he threw that in there.
He was seeing dead people the whole time.
That's right. It's a Jacob's ladder.
He was just walking through a cemetery the whole time. It was a Jacob's ladder.
In the words of Manzukis from How Did This Get Made? Do you have any final thoughts on this? Any plugs? Any final thoughts?
My final, I said it before. Whatever this guy does next, I feel like we must see. I didn't even realize when you said it that he had done shorts in VHS and Southbound, both of which I saw. So now I'm curious to go revisit the shorts that he did in those 2 horror anthologies. And I like when people do things that are different. I think that's why we're getting listener questions that are so opposed. One guy says he loves the ending, and the next person's like, that stupid ending. How would you end it? And, it's like we're seeing things like that. People are saying that this Rotten Tomatoes has a pretty dubious ranking. People are loving and hating it, and I like that. I like that this is doing something different, and that's what happens when you do things differently.
And if someone went up to me and said they didn't like it, I wouldn't argue with them. I'm like, I get it. But for some reason, it just... And to be honest, like, since we podcasted about this, I put a lot of extra thought into this movie. Sure. So, like, on my free time when I was walking somewhere, I had a YouTube clip and I was listening to it on Bluetooth. So, I mean, just any free time I've tried to do as much research into this. So after the first time I watched it, I wouldn't have been so high on it. But if you just watch this film and you weren't that a fan of it because they went the wrong direction, it's about 4 dudes in their 30s dealing with, like, getting older and masculinity, and I get it. That's fine. But for some reason, since I put more thought into this movie and I researched it more, I saw how much thought and research went into it.
I think I went first viewing, I really liked this movie.
Yeah, I remember your text that you sent me that you were pretty early in the liking this film, and you were really high on it when you watched it.
Don't get me wrong, though. I mean, my like was really, really, really high, but it was not love. Like, I would say, like, dude, I love that movie, but what I really mean is I really, really, really liked this movie. But second viewing, and then reading a little bit about it, and hearing other people's thoughts, and third viewing, that really took me to a proper love of this movie, and what it may be trying to do, and its approach. But yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. And like it or not, this is not the horror movie you grew up with. This is not telling a familiar story in a different way. This is not a story I've encountered. This is a pretty cool story. I like that.
Yeah, no,
for them.
It takes the same tropes, but it knows it is, and it tells a unique story on those. So, I mean, I loved it. I'm a big fan of this movie. Well acted, well shot. I already talked way too much about the behind the scenes aspects of it, but a lot of talent went into it. So if you didn't like it the first time around and you listen to this podcast, and sorry if we disagree with your listener questions or the way you think about it, but maybe watch it again with some new eyes and maybe you'll appreciate it more. Plugs?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of listener questions. I'm not going to go through every single person, but Beyond the Void, return question submitter. You guys should go visit www.longlivethevoid. They have their own horror podcast. They're cool folks. Slasher Trash on Twitter has contributed in the past quite a bit to us. Johnny Numb from Crash Palace, The Last Knock, and Loud Green Bird. He's very heavily participated with us. We really appreciate it. He says our name correctly, even though his colleague always fails to say it correctly. Poor Billy Crash. Zane, who's participated quite a bit over the years, filmmaker. He's got a horror anthology called 1031 and another horror movie I think called Cryptids coming out. And most recently I was listening to the Horror Movie Cast. And that's how you can find them on Twitter. they did an episode and they mentioned our office horror. This is their episode 139. They mentioned our office horror. I thought that was pretty cool of them. And they were discussing Mom and Dad, which I didn't listen to that part because I haven't seen it yet. They mentioned Victor Crowley, which is the fourth Hatchet movie, and I thought it was really cool. They had Adam Green on, who wrote and directed the Hatchet movies. And I commented to them because I had actually lost my mother within 24 hours of hearing this podcast. And Adam Green was reflecting and making the Victor Crowley movie, how he had a loss and how he was very conflicted about approaching this film after his life change. And I had commented to them about that, and they were just writing back like, holy crap, like, that's a really sincere comment. And I really appreciated they noticed that and they fielded it. And but it was interesting that Adam Green's commentary really kind of hit me deep in the chest. It was cool about this slasher franchise, which relies on tropes and does so pretty well. I love those Hatchet movies, but that's my long-winded set of tropes for this week. Mark, what do you have, and where can they find us?
Thanks to all the listener questions. Thank you to Chris Kelly. Also, head to iTunes, please, and rate, review, and subscribe to the pod. We'd love to know what you think. Head over there. We'd love to subscribe. We'd love rates, reviews. Also, listen to our 2-part Seabees podcast. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time recording that, and once again, we really appreciate your time. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and John Levingood, we're Movies, Films, and Flicks, and we'll see you next week. Bye.